You feel this nervousness on the phone there?
Sir, I've been trying to make an urgent phone call up there.
Well, I don't think it's something I want to do on an overseas phone.
You gotta make some phone calls. Hang up the phone. Prank caller. Prank caller.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome once again to Packernet After Dark. This is the call-in show of the Packernet Podcast Network. If you'd like to call in, if you'd like to participate in the show, please feel free to do so. The phone number here is 608-501-0718. New callers go directly to the front of the line. Before we get started, I just want to tell you about something. I all over the place with my projects and whatnot. I got this and that, and this has been an evolving thing. I've been working on something else for a while. I kind of put that on the back burner because I wanted to do something cool with my kid. And so we came up with something that we thought would be kind of fun. So I've got a site that, again, I've been planning to do something else with, but in the meantime, because it's the Combine, I figured let's do a little side project. If you go to NFLDraftGrades.com, and it's very much not a completed thing, so I'm going to be making edits constantly if you go there. But I figure since the Combine starts today, and it's going to be over probably before this thing is even done, and it's going to be a complete waste of time, might as well share it now. So you can at least get in and have a little bit of fun. Essentially, what my son and I have built which is going to remain on this site. Hopefully, I'm going to build it into something bigger, and this is just going to be a little side thing. But for now, this is all it is. It's a NFL Combine mini game site. So you can go here, you can click on Start Training, and you can go play a 40-yard dash, vert, bench, broad jump, 3-cone, 20-yard shuttle. It'll actually save your times. You got to create an account. It'll save it to your own thing. It'll create for you your own RAS card, which is pretty dope, and you will be put on a leaderboard. So there'll be like the top 40-yard dash, the top vert, all that stuff, and I need to, it is on here, best RAS scores. So whether or not that one's working yet or not, I don't know. But hopefully by the time you hear this and go check that out, which I would encourage you to do. It's all free, by the way. I know I'm always hitting you up, but it's all just free and for fun. Would encourage you to go check it out, provide whatever feedback you've got, and, have some fun. Happy Combine week. Also, appreciate all the calls coming in. It's been a little bit of a hiatus since we've done this. Probably could have done it yesterday, but it was at like 7-ish calls when I checked it, and that sometimes isn't enough. So I figured let's just give it a day, let it build up. And we're up to 15. And not only that, we actually have a new caller. So we got that little bonus working in our favor. So let's get started with that. New caller, what you got going on?
Hi, Ryan, first-time caller. Was just wondering if there was anybody that you would move up for in the draft to take. And then I know Clayton did talk about late round, possibly taking a late round quarterback. Is there anybody late round that you could see could be a potential project quarterback to take in the later rounds? Thanks. I will hang up on that one.
Well, I appreciate the call. I wish I had a better answer for both of those questions, but I don't. First off, I haven't looked at quarterbacks at all. I watched Jaire Sanders last year, so I got a decent idea about him. I have to go watch him again. Probably save that for last because I just, it's quarterback and we don't super need one. But as far as trade up for, I don't really have anybody that I would. I mean, for example, I absolutely would trade up for Abdul Carter, but he's not going to make it anywhere close to where that would be feasible. For the rest of the pass rushers, honestly, no. At least at this point in time, because I just don't have that big of a gap between any of them. And in fact, one of my favorites is Nick Scorton, who is at 28. So there's almost nobody that I would trade up for when all these other guys are here. There's differences between them. Shamar Stewart and Nick Scorton being sort of the bigger guys. You got James Pierce and Jalen Walker being sort of the smaller, speedier guys. So preference could come into play. But either way, I just don't have a massive preference for anybody at this point in time. to where I'd want to do that. You could maybe start talking me into moving up for one of the defensive tackles, because there aren't a ton. I mean, as far as at 23, you're kind of just looking at Walter Nolan and Kenneth Grant right now based on the consensus big board. Derek Harmon is also there. He's kind of sitting back of the first round-ish. But I really do like Walter Nolan a lot. I like Kenneth Grant for completely different reasons. It's more project than anything. I like his athleticism. And I feel like he could be something as opposed to Walter Nolan, who I just love the way the guy plays. I think if you were to... Let's just tweak it and say you have to trade up for somebody. Who is it going to be? It would probably be Walter Nolan. With that said, the way the draft is, there's so many prospects that kind of fit our needs. It's probably a better idea to wait and see what falls to us, at least for where I'm sitting now. It depends on your assessment of the players. I would probably rather wait and sit. If one of the defensive tackles falls, great. If not, we can look at the corners. We can look at the edge rushers. We can look at the offensive line. We could look at the defensive linemen. We can look at, whatever's available, and, possibly even trade back. I mean, it's so hard to answer the question without knowing kind of how things fell. But if I had to guess, when the draft comes, would I have rather traded up for somebody or traded back? Probably trade back, just because there's such a big pile of guys that I like and such a very small pile at this time of guys that I love. But I'm still very early. I know it's late, but I'm very early in the process. I've seen these guys, the first-round prospects. I haven't... Well, some of them I've watched pretty extensively. I just have such a hard... Like Mike Green, I really had a hard time... And I'm having a hard time, loving. But he's also one of those guys where there was that one play that I saw that was like, holy crap. I think I watched him against Ohio State. And, you want to watch him against some of the bigger competition. And he just was really not very effective. He was not doing very much. And there was one play where he just, one-armed tossed a guy like Reggie White. The offensive lineman's doing, a backward somersault. And he just goes about his business like that was nothing. And you look at that and go, what the heck was that? And that's one of those weird things where it's like, wait a minute, I didn't know that was in there. And what can a guy like that do? So there's little things like that. And that's the case for all of them, with the exception of Walter Nolan, who was pretty impressive throughout, although he is a little stiff and stiff is the wrong word, but he's a little slow, which I guess you don't super care about defensive tackles, which is why, again, there's nobody that's just checking every box. He's maybe the closest. For a lot of these other guys, James Pierce is great. He's a little small, and he sometimes gets stuck. But sometimes he's, that speed is exciting, and sometimes the speed can translate into power, and you can see that. So I like it, but I don't love it. So if we drafted him, I'm happy. If we don't, still happy. But that's where I'm at right now. We also have a problem here because I don't have a name for you. So we're going to have to do that thing where... you didn't give me much to work with either. You just have to feed it to the robot and see what it comes up. I'll use Grok because Grok can be a little stupid. In terms of, if you want one to be kind of ridiculous, Grok's probably the way to go. Since this person didn't leave a name, let's have some fun with it. How about Draft Dodger? That's pretty good. Because you called about the draft and you're a Dodger because you didn't leave your... That's not bad. Phantom Fan, Late Round Larry. That's interesting. No name Nate doesn't work. We already got a Nate. Caller X is too generic. Hang Up Harry. All right, Draft Dodger. Draft Dodger. I like it. Apologies if you served in the armed forces. That may be a bit of a sore subject, but Draft Dodger is your name. Drew, what do you got going on, man?
Hey, Ryan. It's Drew from Green Bay, and I was just calling to talk about a mock draft idea where I was trying to think of a new kind of mock draft where, people haven't really tried out or talked about it yet. And the thing that I came to was cornerback in the first and second round.
Okay.
And
classic
I
Packers.
think that could actually be realistic. I don't think we will do that, and I don't really want to do that.
Recently.
But as a backup plan, say all the defensive tackles, that we really, really like go off, and instead of reaching a little bit, we, and maybe we try to wait until the second round and they're not falling to us. Cornerback sets up where, like, I was able to get, Siobhan Rebel and Azaria Thomas. And that's where a lot of the cornerbacks had actually gone. So in this, simulator, like, I think there is a potential you could get maybe Rebel in the second and Amos in the first, or vice versa. Like, we don't know how these are going to shake out, but and then the rest of the draft actually played out better than I expected, where I could get Jordan Phillips in the third round, and then Jared Wilson. He's a defensive, and then Jared Wilson is center. I got him in the fourth, and then I added Trevor Etienne in the fifth, the running back, because I just think he's good and for that value. And, like, I felt like it's pretty good. And I kind of feel like...
It'd be funny if he ended up better than his brother, wouldn't it? Etienne's not bad, but he never really materialized into what we thought he would be.
We don't absolutely have to go edge. So if we go cornerback, probably want to, like, skip the edge of this year and then maybe get one next year. But this would also be better if we trade Jaire, and then we might have an extra pick to get a guy somewhere else. But, this is what the Eagles did, too.
I was going to bring that up.
And it basically won them a Super Bowl. Hitting on two cornerbacks, first and second round, won the Eagles a Super Bowl. So I'll hang up, and what do you think?
You stole a little bit of my thunder there. Yeah, so the Packers have done it twice. Both times were resounding failures. One was Randall and Rollins, and then the other was Jaire, which was good. And then was it Josh Jackson, which was not. Was it Josh Jackson or was it Josh? I don't remember. We had the one guy that was whatever. It doesn't matter. The Jaire year. Both times ended up not panning out. But you're right. The Eagles did it, and it was fantastic. The problem is, I don't know, I mean, anything could possibly happen, but just kind of looking back in hindsight, the buzz around Quinion Mitchell, who also, even though he went like mid-first, fell, and then, what's his name? The guy everybody in Green Bay wanted, for him to fall into their lap into the second, I mean, it was remarkable. Now, granted, that's kind of like the Jaire thing. That's more or less what happened in that situation, which didn't work out as well, where you had a guy that everybody thought was a first-round pick fall to us in the second round, and Jaire ended up also being a first-round pick that we took. Too bad that didn't pan out. But the bottom line, I don't know that there's any two guys in this draft, at least currently, that have that level of hype. Doesn't mean they can't be good, but it's just something to mention. The other issue, obviously, as you acknowledged, even though you said it worked out pretty well, people are going to be upset because there's a lot of other needs, and if you don't address it in the first round, everybody's already mad. I can't believe you didn't get an edge rusher or a defensive tackle or whatever. If you had neglected the first two rounds, now it's like, oh crap, the odds of us getting anything beyond this is and that is, I mean, that is the realistic issue. Not that it's the wrong thing necessarily, but the realistic issue is there's only a limited amount of opportunities to fix issues. Not that that's how you address the draft or anything. I'm just saying, if that ends up happening, the odds of us fixing any of the other issues go down. But strong free agency could fix that. We got to talk about that tomorrow a little bit. I know there's some talk now that the Packers are not going to do a lot in free agency, which I don't think is necessarily the case, but we'll talk about that tomorrow. But, look, at the end of the day, it doesn't, and this is another defense of best player available. If you tell me that the picks worked, I don't care who they are. It almost doesn't even matter. You could tell me it's running back, linebacker. Would not be super happy about it. But if you told me, you know what, they ended up like, I don't know why I can't remember the guy's name, but Quinion Mitchell and the other guy, I had it. I had it there, and then I lost it. If you tell me it worked out that well, I don't care. Because it's better than, the most important thing is that it works. Because, I mean, Lucas Van Ness is a premier position. Obviously more important than linebacker, running back, any of the tight end. It's more important. It's more valuable than that. But that only assumes that they're equally valuable in terms of how good they are. Lucas Van Ness has been bad for 2 years, right? So he has no value. A mid-tier running back would have been more valuable at this point. So, yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, we all have our preferences for what positions work out. But at the end of the day, find me guys that are good football players, period. And I will get over the rest of it. I think the benefit of, drafting the better positions is that you don't know who's going to work and who's not. So as much as it sucks to draft an edge rusher that doesn't pan out, boy, does it suck a lot more to draft a linebacker that doesn't. You got a situation like Quay where it's like it was stupid for you to draft a linebacker to begin with, and he doesn't pan out. Now I'm super pissed. But yeah, if you tell me it works, I'm fine with it. And like you said with the Eagles, if you get 2 corners and it pans out, this is transformative, which is true of any premier positions. If they draft an edge and a defensive tackle, I'll call defensive tackle premier because we'll call it essentially a pass rusher. You get an edge defensive tackle and they both pan out to be top of their position, it is transformative. If you get 2 wide receivers, even if we have wide receivers, you get 2 wide receivers that end up, both of them are top 20 at their position, that is franchise altering. So I don't super care. I have preference, but more important than position is, can these guys be top of their position? Can they be really good football players? All right, let's take a break. We got a couple from Beer Cheese Benny, a couple from Kyle and Madison, and we'll see where it goes from there. We'll take a break. We'll be right back.
Hey, Ryan, Beer Cheese Benny here.
Yo, yo, yo.
So, Mark Murphy came out and said he filed to try to ban the tush push, but I don't understand how that makes sense when we've massively, basically benefited from doing the same thing with Tucker Kraft.
Yeah.
I call it the Kraft single because we get a single yard.
Well, does Tucker get pushed from behind? I don't think he does he? When we do the Tucker, what I'm trying to think of, whatever, I thought somebody came up with a name for it. Doesn't matter. When we did the Tucker sneak, I don't remember if Jordan came up behind him and pushed or if a running back did. A running back probably did. But, no, I get your point.
And Jordan Love has done it too, to be honest, a couple times. So, and I'm listening to your episode, it's why don't we just do that enough? I don't know, I guess, yes, I understand.
I mean, it is, that is probably the most self-defeating thing to me is the fact that we don't do it. We've done it with, like you said, with Tucker, we've done it a couple times, but the fact that we don't do it every time, you're telling me that it is impossible to defend. It cannot be defended. It is a cheat code. If you're not doing it every single time, then you're lying. You're lying. Maybe at best what you're saying is it's impossible for us to stop them, but it's not an impossible play to stop, which at that point we're talking about talent, which means I don't care about your argument anymore. Now, as I mentioned, I guess this morning or whatever, there are some arguments that are a little bit more persuasive, but yeah, if you as a team are choosing not to do it, then I don't believe you when you say that it is a cheating play that is impossible to stop. Unless you also want to follow that up with, by the way, our head coach is brain damaged and he is just refusing to do it because he's a complete idiot. Because if you're not going to add that caveat, then I don't believe you.
If you want to say, yeah, you can't, actually push the guy from behind, okay, that's fine. Because, again, I understand the point he's trying to make where, there is no skill in that. You just push the guy. But, if it's legal, then why isn't everybody doing it? You know what I mean?
Well, but, it is kind of a silly thing to say that there's no skill because it's just pushing. That's a lot of football. You know what I mean? It's it's a reductionist, I guess, view of what exactly they're doing because there's obviously technique with the offensive line and everything else, and there's angles involved. The quarterback, if the quarterback comes in high as opposed to coming in low, and does he go right behind or does he go in between? And maybe there's not a ton of skill as far as pushing from behind, but okay, there's not a ton of skill in running in a straight line either, but it's, if the running back runs through a wide open hole and gets into to score a touchdown, should we ban that because there's no skill in him just running forward? Like, what are we talking about? Some things are not the hardest assignment in the world, but that doesn't mean that there's no skill involved in that play as a whole, and it also doesn't mean that if there's an instance where we can find where there isn't maximal skill in doing something, that it should be banned. You'd have to argue for that as well, and that makes no sense.
That just means that, like, not everybody trusts their guys to do it. And the Eagles are just really good at it. And they started doing it the most, or whatever.
Because they're the ones that can make it work.
I don't think, to be honest. I think teams have done it. It just doesn't happen as often. But, yeah, that's kind of my opinion. It's like, well, like, if don't ban it, just tell your freaking team to do it.
Right.
So that way it's like...
And tell me why you're not doing it.
Anyways, and then Brian Gutekunst, right? Apparently Mark Murphy told him he can trade the first-round pick if he wants, just because the draft's in Green Bay, which everybody said, Mark Murphy's not going to let him because it's in Green Bay.
Which is always silly.
There you go. That's not true anymore. And it's funny because Gutekunst said it depends on the edge rusher. Like, dang, dude. Like, this is getting serious, dude. We might end up getting, like, Myles Garrett or Max or somebody. I guess depends on the price. The price has got to be right. So we'll see what develops here in the next few weeks. Interested to see after the combine where Packers' interest level will be, because some guys' draft stock could really plummet or skyrocket, depending on how they perform there. So, yeah, man, I haven't done a mock draft in a while, so I'm going to have to start doing them again based on this new information I'm getting. We'll see you later.
Yeah, I think that was always kind of a silly thing. I understand that, you want to have that moment of Green Bay in the first round. Of course you want to have that. But to imply that the Packers or Mark Murphy or anybody else would not allow Brian Gutekunst to do his job if he felt that a first-round pick needed to be traded. First of all, it's none of your business, period. Like, you don't stick your nose in my Gutekunst doesn't need to ask Mark Murphy for permission. Like, get out of here. That's not your, this is not your job. This is not your area of expertise. This is my area here. Now, that's not 100% true. There's probably some collaboration there, but the bottom line is Mark Murphy should not be involved to the point where he can dictate whether or not he can trade for players. And I just, again, if you want to give a better reason, if it's a player with like character flaws or something, and Mark Murphy wants to veto it and say, we really shouldn't do that or whatever, maybe you could argue that. But for him to overstep to the point where he would say, we're not going to add this elite talent because it's going to mess up my draft day thing or whatever, would be horrifying if that ended up being a thing. And it's not that it's impossible, but the absolute assumption, unless you just think he's a complete scumbag, would be that of course he wouldn't do that. Which, apparently some people do think he's a complete scumbag. I don't know, but yeah, I think it's, I hope we have a first round pick. I do, but I just think it's silly that we assumed that we wouldn't be allowed to trade it. Therefore, nothing's going to happen with that. I never really understood why we assumed that. Again, it was possible, and it still is technically possible. We can go deeper down the rabbit hole of a conspiracy theory that he's lying and that he was told, but he was also told to keep his mouth shut or I'm going to smack you in the mouth or whatever. I don't know where the conspiracy leads us, but I'm going to burn your house down or something. I don't know. But yeah, I think it's on the table. I don't know if they're going to deal it. And again, it would be ideal if you could find a way around not doing that. But I don't know. I never put much stock in that.
Brian Beersey's Benny, one more thing I want to say about the tush push. In my opinion, it is not real football because it's just like, I mean, I don't know, dude. It just doesn't seem like real football. Like you're just pushing the guy like forward. Like it doesn't require like one guy to like be able to get like for instance like a running back where like they get the ball and then like they have to push forward like to get the yard. But now that you think about it, now I'm saying all this, then I guess you're going to have to ban any type of pushing. Because think about how many times like teams have benefited from like linemen just pushing a running back into the end zone or something like that. So I don't know, but to me it's just kind of just like cheap football. Like I think you should just have to like sneak it with the quarterback or like.
Well, do we remember when Tom Brady QB sneaking was automatic? We knew it was coming. He would do it every time, and they got it every time. Again, I think we're talking about. I don't think it's entirely true that we're just pushing somebody. I think there's a lot more to it than that. If you remove the offensive line and what they need to do, which is trench warfare, which is the epitome of football, then I don't think you get the first down, right? It's not a quarterback with a tight end pushing him in the back that's going to get that done. Those defensive linemen would obliterate them. The real fight is up front with the offensive line against the defensive line. The pushing, and I don't care as much about. I mean, if you want to get rid of the pushing, fine, get rid of the pushing. I'm just telling you, they're going to run a sneak and they're still going to get it. And so if that's what's bothering you, that it's automatic, then tough. I mean, listen, again, picking up a yard is not hard, period. Most people are going to be able to do it. It's a lot easier to pick up a yard than it is 10 yards. That's obvious, right? I mean, if you don't want that, then, try to do a better job on first and second down, I guess. So I guess I don't like a lot of the argumentation against it. The fact that it's easy. Yeah, well, it's a yard. Of course it's easy. The fact that we can't stop it is not a legitimate argument. Even, not real football, I maybe because it's not like a typical football play. It's more of like a rugby thing, it feels like. Not that I know anything about rugby, but just from what I've seen with the scrums or whatever. But again, if that's the big hang-up, fine, get rid of it. But I don't think I don't mean you, but I don't think the people that are upset are going to be happy because the Eagles are just going to keep doing what they're doing. They're going to get it over and over and over and over and over and over again. Are you okay with that? Is it literally just somebody pushing somebody in the back that you don't like? Because that's fine. I'm fine getting rid of it. Again, defense can't do it. Special teams can't do it. So offense shouldn't be able to do it. That's fine. I mean, if they can do it to get a first down, I should be able to do it to stop them. I think the defense should be allowed to push from behind. I think linebackers should be able to push the defensive linemen. Now, if we start talking about, well, now we're getting away from football, it's turning into rugby or whatever, fine, then forget it. Forget it. But just be clear, they're going to keep running it and they're going to keep getting it, even if there's not a tight end pushing him from behind. But yeah, if you want to get rid of the pushing from behind thing, I mean, based on the fact that defense can't do it, that's fair. I'm fine with that argument.
I think when Tucker Kraft does it, I'm not sure if I can recall really where he's been pushed. To be honest, I think it just needs to be like that, where you just snap the ball and don't. But I mean, what do we do? The thing is what are we doing? Why would we ban a football play? That doesn't even it doesn't make sense. Well, I don't like the play because I think it's cheap football. You don't ban it. What is this, communism? We're just gonna we don't like this play, so we're just gonna ban it. That's just kind of stupid. But I don't know, man. Who cares? I think, to be honest, the way I'm looking at this is just Mark Murphy's, last kind of push to make something happen in the league before he retires. So, he's kind of just grasping at anything he can. He got the draft, and he's going to be applauded for that, and he should be, because that's amazing that he got the draft in Green Bay. but this is kind of like a lasting effort to, like, I guess maybe make an impression or, like, having done something with his career in the NFL. So, I mean, I don't know, man. This seems kind of like oh, well, I'm retiring, so let's, like, try to do something crazy. I don't know. That's kind of what it seems like to me. But anyways, go Pack go, and we will talk to you some other time.
Yeah, and my assumption is they're not going to end up banning it, but it'll be interesting to see who falls on what side of what, and what the actual arguments are. I don't, for all the reasons I said, I don't super care, because all it sounds like we're really talking about getting rid of is the one guy in the back pushing. Fine, do it. I don't care. I just don't care. And if you don't, I don't care. I would prefer that you allow the defense to reciprocate, and if you can't, why not? Well, because of safety. Okay, well, then it needs to be banned. If that's what you're telling me, that it's a safety issue, you dummy, then the offense shouldn't be allowed to do it. I understand we like to benefit the offense all the time, but you cannot tell me the offense can do something and the defense can't do something. I mean, obviously in some situation, the forward pass, but in this instance, yes, there is no reason that I could see why the offense would be allowed to do something and the defense can't, other than we just want the offense to win all the time. All right, let's take a break. We'll come back. We got Kyle from Madison.
Ryan, what's up, man? Kyle from Madison.
Yo.
Hope you're doing good, bud.
Yep.
So, yeah, I'm right there with you on the Max Crosby, Devontae Adams being the A number one. If not maybe the best, but man, that'd be pretty dang good, wouldn't it?
Be cool.
And same thing with Khalil Mack. I mean, the edge possibilities. Now we'll see who actually ends up being a legit possibility, but the edge possibilities to me, that's a much better situation than the receiver. I'm not super pumped on the free agent receiver class. I don't want Higgins because I just think I don't want somebody that's going to be hurt like that, possibly.
Yeah.
Adams would be amazing. I don't know. I mean, I don't know. I'm trying to, maybe it's just like I'm emotionally inoculating myself for it not to happen, but that'd be cool. My question is, are we, with the Alexander situation, are we getting closer to any kind of deadline that's going to spur action on that front? Or is the draft the next thing? I wasn't sure if there's some kind of league year situation there, because to me, that's the big shoe that needs to drop yet, depending on what the Packers are going to do, because, I mean, everybody seems to think he's out.
Yep.
I don't know if there's any chance he's not, but does that mean cut? Or is there any, I don't know if people are going to want his contract. Is there any chance he still gets traded? Just interested in your thoughts on that. And whether or not we're getting closer to a point where you can at least get on with it here. I hate waiting. I love Jaire. I wish he was healthy, and I wish he could come back, but it doesn't look like that's going to happen. But it'd be nice to get something for him. I don't know. Anyway, talk to you later, bud.
It's kind of interesting looking at it. There is no like roster bonus type of thing that's coming up. So, for example, in 2024, March 16th, he had a roster bonus, which is I'm assuming what you're talking about as far as spurring action. It is interesting, though. He had one in 2023 and 2024 and nothing in 2025 or 6, which leads me to believe that the Packers wanted to, for whatever reason, and the reason could just be as simple as they love giving themselves flexibility later on, no matter what, but they suddenly have flexibility after the first 2 years to not be in a situation with a roster bonus or whatever else coming up. So that does work to their benefit now. They're not pressured into signing him or releasing him or anything else. They got plenty of time to do whatever it is that they need to do this year. And so, yeah, the draft probably is the next thing that's spurring action, I guess you could say, in terms of teams are going to want to, and I mean, obviously free agency is going to be the first thing when that becomes available and trade talks become a thing and all that stuff. But the point is, people are going to want answers by the time the draft comes, and so that's when, the Packers included, but they know that that's their lever to kind of negotiate with teams, because teams, again, they want to have answers. They want to know what they have and don't have. And the first phase of free, even if they can't get something done, when that first phase of free agency goes through, because everyone's looking and they're saying, well, I'd rather have this guy or that guy, and they're available. Yeah, but if you don't get them, now what are you going to do, right? And if you're sitting in a situation where, maybe you're at the back of the first and you just don't know who's going to be available or who you're interested in, you might want to just pull that lever, kind of like what I said with the Packers. You want to go into the draft not having any desperate needs. And if you have a desperate need at corner, ironically, the Packers being one of those teams, in my opinion, you may be interested in just pulling the trigger on Jaire Alexander, and that's what people are going to be pushing, I think. So yeah, I think that is probably the next big drop dead date, for not so much for the Packers necessarily. They can hang on to Jaire as long as they want. They'd like to do it as soon as possible, but for other teams to solve that equation, I guess you could say.
And I see Holmgren didn't get into the Hall of Fame. And yeah, there's a lot of glazing of Mike Holmgren going on right now, and a lot of it's really, really appropriate, because that was kind of the peak of my, I don't know, I guess I would have been like 9 or 10 or something, just starting to really get into the Packers when the reclamation project started. And I mean, it was so fun, especially to have been just so bad. And then that happens. But for me, it's complicated with Holmgren because, we had it all lined up there. And Mike just was insistent on being a GM. And Ron Wolf, I mean, the whole situation, if I recall, was kind of weird too, because I think Ron Wolf ended up retiring as GM like a year later, but he wasn't going to have that, and Holmgren decided to leave for somewhere to do that. And see, it just upsets me because we had it all. I mean, we really did. I think there's no reason that team couldn't have kind of done what the Chiefs have done in these years here. I mean, they had just gone to back-to-back Super Bowls, won one, lost one, and then should have probably gone to another one if it wasn't for the we had the Jerry Rice fumble, which necessitated the implementation of instant replay. Why are the Packers always the damn team this stuff happens to? It's like the Fail Mary that got the referee strike to end the Packers, and then. But if you recall, that's when Terrell Owens caught that pass in the last second, right after Rice fumbled. Anyway, I mean, we were really good still. It wasn't like it was totally a downturn. I mean, that team could have won a lot, and I still never fully forgive Mike for leaving, because what could have been? I feel like the Packers organization these last 20 years, it's been really successful, but there's been a lot of times when it zigged, when if it zagged, we could have won like 3 or 4 more championships not easily, but you could certainly see it. So it's a little complicated with Mike. Is he a Hall of Famer? He probably is. He took two different teams to the Super Bowl, but that one's a little tough for me because I'll always wonder. Because Favre just he had a couple good years still, but it was nothing like when Holmgren was there, and you just wonder what that team could have done. I always have. I always have wondered. I think they could have won a couple more championships, so. We'll see what happens. I'm glad for Sterling, though. That's awesome, man. Yeah. I never thought I'd see the day. So that's good stuff. We'll talk to you.
Yeah, I mean, it's two different questions, right? I mean, there's the personal feelings about Holmgren, which I don't know if I was just too young. I mean, obviously I was not super young, but I wasn't as knowledgeable as I am now. I just, you turn on the Packer game, you watch the Packer game, and that's it. And then I think things just kind of happened, I guess. I didn't really get so into it as to follow the news and everything, as far as it was just the coach is leaving. Like, oh, that sucks. It wasn't really thought much beyond that for me anyways. So I never developed negative feelings for him, even though after the fact I come to learn a little bit more about it. But I mean, it's kind of two separate questions in terms of, does he deserve it, and am I upset about it because he pissed me off? maybe not as upset because of what he did, but I think as far as being deserving, I mean, I don't know what based on the criteria of what it seems to take to get in, and what he accomplished, I think it's a no-brainer. For me, it's a no-brainer. But I don't know. I never got super into the whole Hall of Fame thing, so I never really did a big deep dive into all of that. But just listening to people talk about it, obviously knowing what he's accomplished, and then, what about this guy? And you look at the accomplishments of some of the people that are in, which, again, accomplished people. Everybody in there is accomplished, but, it seems to me to be a no-brainer, and I'm sure he's getting in very, very soon. So, yeah, deserving, I would say absolutely. But I get your point in terms of, like, I'm not heartbroken that he didn't, because he broke my heart.
Packy.
Yo.
Rambo.
What's up, man?
I'm at a loss for words at Murphy and Gutekunst, bro. What the are they saying? They're turning football from a game of finesse and timing into a game of physical force?
Yeah, terrible thing that they're doing.
Bro. I am completely on the wrong side of that, I guess, because that sounds like some B-made-S right there. I think we may need to let the Packers know that that's bullshit. Anyhow, still listening. Love you. Go Pack, go.
Yeah, I'm hoping he just kind of misspoke, or there was something got lost in translation there, because that is the worst comment I've ever heard. That I don't even remember the quote, what it was, but it was, something to the effect of, like, oh, we're turning this beautiful game that we all love into this game of brute force and physicality. Like, oh no. What? Please tell me that is not a real statement that was made by anybody ever. I like Mark Murphy. He's a good dude. He's a former football player, and he played in a day of brute force and physicality. So I can't imagine that he meant it in the way that it was said. I mean, again, I could somewhat understand, essentially, if you're just talking about, there's an element of, like, you have to be intelligent to play football, and this is just, like, caveman me push ball forward, kind of like, I'm guessing it was supposed to sound something like that, but yeah, a lot of football is that, dude. It's just smashing into. I mean, it's what tackling is. I understand there's technique to tackling, but tackling is just running as fast as you can and smashing into a dude. You know what I mean? Like, there's a lot of just brute force caveman stuff with football, and I appreciate the fact that it's also a very intelligent sport, and especially quarterbacks and stuff, they gotta really be on their game, and all that's true, but it absolutely is a very physical brute force type of thing, and that's why a lot of people like, whether it's the tush push or the a goal line stand or whatever it is, that's, to a lot of people, that is the epitome of football. And it was like I talked about before, it was who was it that said that? Wanstead, who's now like a Bears media guy, but he was talking about it, and he's, it's like, why can't people stop this? Or why? I think the question was about goal line, like, why, it's bottom line, they just don't practice it anymore. And similarly to this point, football has gotten to the point where we just have gotten away from the physical nature of it. That, he's back in the day when we did two-a-days, which, again, we don't do that anymore because it's too physical, it's too demanding. One of the like every time at practice, whether, whenever it was, I don't know, at the end of practice or whatever, but every single time we practiced, we did goal line, and it was always just, you line up your biggest, baddest dudes, and you try to get as low as possible, and you frickin' get after it. And that was the epitome of football. That was it. And that's the point that guys like Wanstead, even just, you talk about old school football, you just have to go back to the 90s, dude. Maybe even early 2000s. I know I'm getting old, and I know for some people that was a long time ago, but I'm telling you, it wasn't that long ago. 20 freaking years somehow, 25. Oh my gosh. Oh, it's 25 years ago. Okay. That hurt, it literally hurts my stomach to think about that. But it wasn't that long ago, okay? How is it 25 years ago? Anyways, well, there's a bad review. Anyway, I just think it's a bad argument. Like I said, there are decent arguments to be made. Don't come out and start talking stupid crap about it's brute force physicality and we don't want that in our game. Like, I don't care what you meant to say or how it does. Don't say stupid crap like that. If you want to talk about injuries, okay, fine. Seems to be a automatic button you can push with the NFL. If you want something fixed, just push. It's like if you want a scientific grant, just say it affects the environment, Like, why should I give you all this money? Well, global warming. Like, all right, here's all your money. If you want the NFL to do what you want, just say injuries and lawsuits. Like, okay, you got it. We'll ban it. But just, ugh. I don't like it. Especially, like I said, you're the Packers, man. You should be I understand the Packers lately have become kind of a finesse. It's a downfield passing since Brett Favre, right? That's what we do. There's a little bit of defense with Reggie, but it's a passing thing. But still, you're still the team of Ray Nitschke and frickin' Vince Lombardi, okay? Let's not get too far removed from that if we could. That'd be great. All right, I'm out of here. You guys have a good rest of your day. Check out NFLDraftGrades.com. Again, it's something I'm going to be, just expect it to be very broken. And if you finish and get like a 4.4 40 time and it all of a sudden is erased because I just did an update, I apologize. It just is what it is. But just something to play with. I'm out of here. Have a good one. Bye-bye.